How do you know if somebody is a spiritual pig before whom you should not cast any pearls? Hi, welcome to today's little lesson. This is another special Sydney, Australia edition of Little Lessons, and the dusk is falling here on Sydney behind me. That's what you're looking at in the background there. So if you've been listening to Little Lessons for any length of time, you know that recently we've been working our way through the Sermon on the Mount. And we're currently in the 7th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, kind of getting closer to the end of the Sermon on the Mount. And we come across these words of Jesus. And he said, starting in Matthew chapter 7 and verse number 6, "Do not give what is holy to dogs. Do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces." Oh, my. That's interesting. Obviously Jesus is not speaking there about literal dogs and literal pigs, swine, but these are symbols for people, and people who are animal-like in their nature, and specifically characterized by the fact that they don't value what's very valuable. Because, obviously there's no dog on this planet that values, spiritual things and eternal things. And so what Jesus is essentially saying here is that people who don't value spiritual and eternal things, they're in the category of dogs. And that is a sad commentary on people. And in a typical rabbinic fashion, one point made with two examples: don't cast your pearls before the swine. Pigs, when you toss a pearl to a pig, never in the history of humanity did a pig, a pearl, and try to somehow daintily, pick that pearl up and preserve it because it recognizes the value of that. No, pigs are completely ignorant of the value of pearls, and you throw a pearl to a pig, and you might as well throw a piece of corn or a piece of dirt or a stone. They don't care. They just step on it. And that is what Jesus compares to those who, don't value what God values: truth, His Word, the gospel. And again, it is a sad commentary on people when God looks at them and says, "Really, you're about as smart as a pig. You're as stupid as a dog." But nevertheless, that's what Jesus said. I didn't say it. Jesus said it. Okay. So how do you know? How do you know? Well, this might be being a little bit too technical on this, but this is what I've always thought, and this is what I've always practiced. If you throw something that's holy to a dog, and if you don't know if it's a dog or not, because we're looking at human beings here now, you have to watch and see what they're going to do with that first little holy thing that you throw to them. Pigs the same way. You throw one pearl and you see what that pig does with that first pearl. Again, it could be too technical, but Jesus, don't cast your pearls before the swine. And so you could say, well, he's not prohibiting one pearl, because you got to throw one pearl to know, you got to identify the character of the individual with whom you're dealing. Okay, so Jesus is saying it's a waste of time, and don't waste your time on trying to help people who don't value the message that you're bringing and the truth that you're bringing. And let's face it, as I'm saying this, we're probably all thinking that, goodness, there's a lot of people who fall into that category. And this is not the only time that Jesus expressed this spiritual principle. He told his apostles when he sent them out, to go preach the gospel. He said, if they don't receive you in a city, shake the dust off your feet and get to the next city. Don't waste your time on people who aren't interested. Get moving to the next city. He said, in one case, leave the dead to bury the dead. So don't hang around the dead people trying to, somehow resurrect them when they don't want to receive the truth that's the only hope for their resurrection. And I think the church has made a huge mistake in this regard. I think we've plowed so many resources and so much effort into the same people, the same pigs, the same dogs, while the whole world is waiting, in many cases, this is an oversimplification and an exaggeration, but so many millions, hundreds of millions, and we could even say billions of people who haven't had hardly any exposure, if in some cases they've had no exposure to the truth. And so the resources of the church ought to be going, primarily to give those people a chance. I think it was Oswald Smith who first said, why should anyone hear the gospel twice until everyone's heard it once? Okay? So something to think about on a worldwide level as well as on a personal level. That doesn't mean we wouldn't come back at a later time. Sometimes people who are unreceptive become receptive, but those people sometimes will come back to you when they become receptive because they remember, what you said. Maybe they realize, oh my goodness, that guy gave me a pearl, and that person can give me more pearls, and so they'll come back to you. And again, on an international, worldwide level, this also has application as well. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on today's little lesson.